I'm going to give you a complete guide as to how I increased my dating value in the dating marketplace over 12 months. Now, this journey wasn't a journey that took only 12 months. It's been a long time in the making, and I've gone through many highs and lows when it comes to learning how to attract women, learning how to be more high value so that the game, the process of seduction just became so much easier for me. But I'm going to explain to you the fundamental building blocks of how I did this, complete in details of the 5 phases that I went through to become who I am now, where I'm able to attract women in pretty much any environment using the baseline communication skills that I learned, combined with the value that I have to make dating relatively effortless at this point. Hopefully you can learn from this and you can use these principles for your own dating life and to increase your own value as a man. Let's go ahead and dive into it. I'm going to start with identifying a very clear problem that we've seen for our clients that's starting to pop up in the dating marketplace and that needs to be corrected. The problem is that many men are not aware about the competitive nature of modern dating. So I work with a lot of men, or I talk to a lot of men who come to me for advice and who want to understand how they can have better dating results, but they don't realize just how competitive dating is. So I have a lot of guys I'll talk to and they say, there's a girl I was speaking to and for some reason the interaction just fell off. Or I'm talking to a girl, we went on a date and for some reason I didn't see her again. Or there was a girl that I was dating and for some reason it didn't work out. She lacked interest. And I've seen this trend more and more amongst men nowadays. More and more men are starting to feel like it's just random, like girls are just not working out for them. But you probably don't understand this. I know I didn't understand it for a very long time, and this is only getting worse. And we've seen this with our consulting clients. Dating is getting only more and more competitive. It's getting much more competitive. Every single day I go across my Instagram feed and I look at the kinds of guys that are coming up in different ads, guys that I see that are coming up an explore page with fitness and different people that are starting to rise on Instagram, and the level of value that the men who are in the top percentile have and that they are demonstrating on social media is growing. It's getting more and more. Guys with more wealth, guys with access to traveling to different locations, guys who have more resources, guys who have more abundance, and they're demonstrating this online. I know because I'm building this kind of Instagram for myself. As I'm earning more, as I build my business, as I work with more clients and I travel to different places and I engage in better experiences, I document this myself. My business partner documents this himself, and it becomes easier and easier for us to attract women simply because of the value that we are demonstrating online. And then you have a guy who doesn't have this value, or is at least not demonstrating this value, and he wonders, why is the girl not texting me back? Why is this interaction falling off? It's because it's becoming so much more competitive. And the shift is this: the top percentile of attractive men are having access to more and more women, and the bottom percentile are being ignored. Just recently, I went out on a date. Actually, this year, I've met a couple girls like this. Girls that are relatively conservative. They come from a good home. Their father is in their life. They're from a humble location. They're not some girl in the big city who has access to everything. But these girls are dating guys like me. These girls are dating guys who have value in the dating marketplace. So a couple of years ago, maybe 10 or 20 years ago, or even sooner than that, more recently, girls would have seen guys like that only by chance, only by luck. And it's not like this kind of guy comes across her life and she's seeing this every day. But now the access to match with this kind of guy on Tinder, the access to see this guy DMing her and messaging her is way higher than it was before, which means that if you don't have your value lined up and if you're not ready to compete in this dating marketplace, you are absolutely going to be left behind. And this is what's happening to so many men. Now, there's good news. It's not all bad. The top percentile follows a few very predictable biological markers. So it's not like the top percentile of men is something that's random, where you're just like, oh, I'm not top percentile, I can't get there, this sucks. you can actually predict the kind of guy that is going to be in the top percentile of men when it comes to value, and then you can scale that value by demonstrating it online. And in this video, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you literally the mechanisms and frameworks that I give to my clients that has helped them attract women naturally by mastering and increasing their own value in the dating marketplace. I'm going to give you that here. So there's 3 basic markers that you can use to increase your value. There is looks, which is showing that you are healthy and fit. That is number 1, and that's the most important piece of value you're going to have. Your looks, looking good. Then number 2 is resources, which is showing, this is how it works in evolution, that you can provide, you have provisioning ability and stability. Now, the girl may not necessarily be looking for a man to provide for her, but this is still an evolutionary marker of competence. So you driving a Lamborghini is not directly related to the evolutionary past of you being able to like hunt a fucking animal and bring it back to your family, but showing that you can acquire a resource like a Lamborghini, or you can travel to exotic, cool places and can finance that, shows that you are able to acquire resources, which is a biological indicator of health or a biological evolutionary indicator of competence. Number 3, mindset. And this is something that I don't hear often, but I'm going to add it in as a bonus +1 because I think it's important. Mindset being disagreeableness and assertiveness. Are you able to show that you're a leader of other men, that you're the man who's at the top of the tribe, that you're at the front of the pack? This would be like giving public speeches in terms of nowadays. Back in the day, hundreds of thousands of years ago, that's leading the tribe. Now, here's where everything changes and where things get interesting. Once you have the value, the goal is to scale it. And you scale the value through online dating and social media. This is Instagram, this is Tinder, Bumble, whichever fucking app you're going to use. You can scale this value. Now it sucks because it makes everything harder for guys who are not doing this. But if you are doing this and you're able to tap into this ability to scale your value, you are going to attract more women. I'm going to share with you what I did to increase my dating value and to become a higher value man, someone who lives his life in the way that he dates women, the way he communicates with women, the tribe of men that I'm around. I live my life as a high value man. I'm going to share with you that here. Before I get into the 5 steps that I went through to actually become higher value, I want to tell you, if you want to learn the fundamental frameworks and systems for how to attract women in 4 easy steps, because you can have all this value, but if you don't actually understand how to attract women and bring them into your life, the value is going to be relatively worthless. You're going to be shooting in the dark. So if you want to understand the psychological mechanisms and predictable behaviors that are required to attract women and bring them into your life, I created a training with my team, a 4-step training that explains to you exactly how myself and how my clients attract women. It breaks it down to you in 4 simple steps, and the link to that training is below. What you do is put in an email and you look at the training. It's completely free. I'm giving this training away for free. It's several $100s worth of value. This could be a product by itself, but I'm going to give it away to you for free. So check it down below. It explains 4 steps you can use to start attracting women on your terms without wasting time being needy, chasing girls that don't want you back, or spending lots of time like approaching thousands of chicks and getting nowhere with it. Okay, check the training down below, and I'm sure you'll learn from it and actually grow and learn how to attract more women. Let's go ahead and get into these steps. So step number 1 for me was fashion. And I learned this from my first mentor in dating, actually. I used to dress very conservatively. I thought that I looked good because I wore a button down and some nice jeans. But I stopped dressing so conservatively around 2015 because my mentor was like, show off a little bit, stand out a bit more. And I started dressing in a way that represented to me how I wanted to express myself. So I didn't just dress in a way that looked presentable, but I actually dressed in a way to stand out. So at the time, this led to me developing a bit more of a fuckboy style, which is something I don't actually use now, and I'll explain that later. But back then, that was what I used. And what I found is women started to notice me more. So although I was starting to get very good at pickup skills, me being able to go and approach a girl, me being able to set up dates, I started getting decent at that in 2015. Girls didn't notice me until I changed how I dressed. Once I started dressing in a way that stood out more, women started bringing attention to me. They started bringing their energy to me because of how I looked and how I stood out. I still wasn't very attractive, but I was dressing in a way at least that stood out, where I looked different from the average guy who would be in a club or a bar. The second step was looks enhancement, and this is 2017. I grew my hair out more, so I started getting this kind of hair you see now. This is before I had dreads. Some of you may know this. I used to have long dreadlocks like that would go down to here, and I changed my fashion again, and this time I started wearing accessories that made me stand out. I got 1 or 2 tattoos. I didn't have my neck tatted at the time, but I had my arm and I think a bit of my chest tattooed. So I started wearing accessories. I started wearing a cool necklace, things that would help me stand out a little bit more. I had a nose ring. So I started to develop a bit of a personality with how I looked. This increased my value just a little bit more. There was still a massive journey for me to go down, but this was a part of it. So it was first fashion, which was just setting a baseline of looking cool. And then the second one was enhancing those looks by how I wore my hair, having cooler hair, having a couple of accessories, things that made me stand out, where girls would actually question, what does this guy do? That increased my value just a little bit. After step number 2, this phase of looks enhancement, the next step was what I would call resources in travel. And this happened in 2018. So in 2018, I launched my first online program, which took me from being mid 5 figures in my business to just under 6 figures. And I started traveling to train clients. And I started going to all kinds of different countries. I went to Bali, I went to Australia, I lived in Serbia, I was in Budapest, Hungary, which is where I'm at now, Canada, all over the US. And I went to a bunch of these different cities and started training clients. This expanded my mindset. Now, although I didn't look so different, because I was traveling and I started making more money, the way that I began to see the world changed. So before, I had to interact with the world and interact with women from a place of self-preservation, where it was like I couldn't really engage in interesting experiences because I just didn't have money. It was all about the hustle and working for everything, which was great. But once I began to make more money, I could invest in better experiences. So as an example, the environments that I would go to where I would meet women, let's say that I would go and run a program in Miami, I would go to some of the top venues and I could afford to actually pay for the venues and even pay for those venues for my clients. Because I could do that, the way that I related to women and the kinds of women that I was relating to changed because my environment changed. So although before I was meeting quality women through a lot of effort and through a lot of game, it started to shift just a little bit where my identity was, I actually run a business that makes 100K, and that felt really good for me. And because I had this new level of confidence and mindset, my value changed as well, and the way women begin to respond to me changed. The next phase for me, which was step number 4, was what I would call looks part 2. And this happened in 2021. I started going to the gym way more. The gym became a consistent habit for me, and my physique started to become an asset. I should have been going to the gym way earlier, but around this time, my clothes from 2021 to 2022, my clothes started to fit a little bit different. The way that I would walk, the way that I carried myself changed as well. I felt more comfortable in my body and got more in tune with how I moved through different environments, and women started to notice this. We could put a before and after picture up here so you can see what the difference was like. I started to take care of my body differently, and my body began to be used as an asset. So then, which led to the final phase, number 5, which is what I would call looks minimalism. I stopped needing to use a lot of accessories or dressing very outlandish to try to look high value or to look cool. And instead, I could just dress like a professional and actually allow my communication skills, allow all the looks enhancements I'd done before, tattoos, allow the way that I walk, the way that I move in environments. I could allow that to help me attract women. Of course, combined with communication skills, combined with leaderships, this makes it effortless package of just meeting women. And then combine that with Instagram, which is the scaling factor. So now I can slide into a DM, or I can meet a girl for 3 minutes in a club and I can say, add me on Instagram. And because she sees what my Instagram looks like, which is quite high value relative to most guys in the dating marketplace, now these assets are working for me long term. All right, so this is how your value works. So right now, if you want to become more high value, you need to find where the entry point is going to be. Maybe it's going to be that you look good, but you're broke as fuck, and you go to shitty places and you don't have a cool circle. If that's the case, you need to start building a business or figure out how to make more money in addition to your career so that you can invest time in higher quality locations. Or maybe you make money, but you don't look as good as you could be. Or maybe you look good and make money, but you dress like shit. If so, work on your physique to the point where your clothes fit you way better and you can wear clothes where women are like, oh, this guy takes care of his body. This guy clearly invests time in working in himself. The last thing I'll say when it comes to being high value, and I think this is a very interesting point. I don't know who said this. I think it could have been Justin Waller or possibly even Andrew Tate. They have this statement, and it's the reason why people respect men who physically look imposing or who are physically in shape. The reason they're more respected is because you have to earn that. You have to work hard to a certain extent. Of course, there's steroids and all kinds of supplements, but generally to go from a guy who's super, fat and out of shape or a guy who's very, very skinny, you have to put in work to get to the point where men are going to respect your physique and women will be attracted to your physique. And to get to that, it takes hard work. So I found that the baseline of being high value is physique. That's number one. Like if I had to start somewhere, it would actually be having a physique from when I was younger. I should have started with that. But once you build that framework, then the next thing is how do you actually dress and how do you make your money? Because how you make money allows you to invest in resources and experiences that are going to make you appear or even be more high value in the world. Hopefully this makes sense. These are the phases that I went through to become more high value and make dating way more effortless. Don't just rely on trying to be good at game or trying to work on your riz, as it were, and only communication skills. I love communication mastery, leadership mastery. That's what I'm all about. But really what it also comes down to is being high value so that you can attract women way more easily than you would if you were not that high value guy. Hopefully this lands. I want you to learn from this. And if you want to go deeper and you're ready to start attracting women the way that my clients do, the way that I do, and you want to learn my system directly, I'm going to give it to you for free in the training that we have below. Check that out. It's 4 steps for how you can start attracting women on your terms without wasting time being needy, chasing girls around, meeting girls that don't want you back, and putting in maximum effort with minimal result. We don't want that to happen. The training explains exactly how you can get there very efficiently, and I'm giving you that training for free. The link is below. I will see you there. Be blessed today, and I will see you on our next training.